Welcome to our podcast, episode 113 on microtransactions. So, I'm finally going to talk about the annoying microtransactions. And I guess the range of, you know, microtransactions, because some aren't as egregious as others. Like, some are alright. Um, Occasionally, I guess you can have good ones, just it's incredibly rare these days. But I guess we'll talk about, the whole range of different types of microtransactions, ranging from, just cosmetic stuff to pay to win stuff and, you know, loot boxes and I guess everything else in between all the ranges. So, should I go from best to worst or worst to best? I think starting off with the really bad stuff first, you know, would be more interesting. So, let's talk about the worst stuff, pay to win stuff and loot boxes. Both are pretty much on the same level. But if I had to pick one of the two to be worse, pay to win is definitely worse. Like, by a far, like, loot boxes are certainly annoying and sometimes absolutely ridiculous, but at least you get something, even if that something isn't really worth the money you put into the loot box. At least you do technically get something, and as long as it's not, pay to win, um, then, you know, as long as it's a loot box that isn't pay to win like loot box, because they're kind of like their own separate thing, because there's pay to win and then there's loot boxes. Obviously, loot boxes can be, pay to win, but it doesn't mean necessarily loot boxes are always, pay to win. So they're their own separate thing. So pay to win is just bad. Like in any video game, because someone will spend, thousands of dollars on, you know, getting the best stuff, and you'll be stuck as, a freebie and, stuck with all the low tier stuff. And occasionally you may get like a better item, like here and there. Like very, very rarely you'll actually get the top tier stuff. But most of the time, like 90% of the time with pay to win sort of stuff, you're going to be at the disadvantage and they're going to win. And yeah, so unless you've really know the game and like, are really good at whatever it may be, you won't stand a chance, because that pay to win stuff will be usually a lot superior to your stuff. So tactics don't mean anything if, someone can just break the wall with money. Just throw money and it's suddenly gone. You know, you know, all that time spent learning those skills, not out the window. Kapoosh. Gone. So yeah, pay to win is by far the worst. And it's just annoying. I mean, Halo 5, Rec Packs was kind of like that. At least if you were playing Warzone, the other version of Warzone, like, I forget what it's called, like, it was called like Warzone Heroic or something, I don't know. But at least if you were playing that version of Warzone, it was not a problem because you were versing AI instead of, a opposing team of actual people. So, yeah, that's why I only played the other variant of Warzone most of the time because it was actually fair. Because you were fighting against AI. Surely, yeah, again, tough AI because it was like heroic difficulty, but still AI. So, yeah, actually fair, you know. But, yeah. But next is loot boxes, I guess, would be the next most annoying thing. Obviously, not the most annoying because that's, pay to win stuff. But loot boxes, their random chance can sometimes be really bad. Like, the chances have only seemingly gone low in time. Like, the chances are really, really damn low. Like, some are more fair, like, surprisingly, like, TF2, like, you have a 1% chance to get an unusual, which is higher than most things these days. I mean, in Genshin, every 100 wishes you have a guaranteed 5 star. So, yeah, again, that's a 1% chance that you have a guaranteed, you know, 5 stars. So, those are, two that have higher odds of you getting the good things, with loot box mechanics. But then there's those that are a lot worse. Like another Valve game, CSGO, the odds for getting knives are, I think, definitely a lot lower than 1%. It's probably like 0.1% or 0.01%. Like the odds of getting, a knife in like CSGO now turned CS2 uh um is pretty damn low. So yeah. So depending on the game, it might be technically more fair, but it's still going to be like very hard for you to get something that's actually worth it. So most of the time, it's not worth it. It's not worth it unless you're really dedicated to, you know, the game or whatever. You know, most of the time, loot boxes aren't worth it. It's just literally gambling, basically, except you can't get your money back. So, in that way, it's different to, I guess, gambling, but it's, I guess close. But, from personal experience, since I'm a, game design student, I actually had a teacher who used to work for um, like EA and other places. So I literally met someone, who used to, work for EA, and it was interesting to hear their perspective. Like, like to them, it's technically not gambling because like at a casino or whatever, you can, gain back your money from gambling. Like there's often at least a small return, even if it's not much, unless you waste all your money. But yeah, unless you're really dumb, um, you always get at least some of your money back, you know, in one way or the other. Um, like you always get your money's worth in some way or another. Um, although you'll probably again be mostly losing money, but yeah, but with online games, microtransactions, you have no chance to get your money back because it's not like a game where you can refund the game afterwards. Like if you don't like the game, then you can just refund it. So yeah, like so it's technically not the same as gambling, and that's what that person said to me, and I was like, so this is how you guys think. I finally get to see behind the cracked like curtains and see how you justify in your own minds that this isn't scummy and whatever. You know, I finally see why they may have that perspective. Not that I agree with it, but I can see how and why. You know, honestly, that guy wasn't too bad. Like he seemed chill. Like, like, like. But it's interesting to see like the mentality, like, like I'm worried, for anyone that works for EA, they might literally be brainwashing you into believing that, ah, this ain't gambling. It's not that bad when, it is kind of scummy and, not great. And, but at least now I can kind of understand how they come to these decisions. Not that I agree with them, just I can see, you know, there's, a methodology to it. There's, they are, yeah, in a business and, a company. They got on, money somehow. So, yeah, it's really interesting to see how they, justify their actions, from someone that used to work for one of those places. So, yeah. But either way, loot boxes still ultimately very similar to gambling, even if on a technical definition they're not gambling. You know, it's still pretty scummy. Not as bad as pay to win, because that can completely ruin the fun of a game. But most of the time, loot boxes will just give you like cosmetic stuff these days. Unless, it has pay to win elements, but I already addressed that. But yeah, microtransactions, loot boxes are, you know, not great. I don't like the random chance of a loot box. I rather have a guarantee on one gang rather than a chance on getting something. But yeah, so yeah, Um, and then we come to um, the two less egregious ones, shops and battle passes, ones that, either have, a rotating list of items or a specific thing, that happens for a specific period of time. So that battle pass, will be active for, a few months and then be rotated out. And if you didn't get that battle pass, good luck. You're probably not getting those items ever again. You know, I can't think of an example where, you know, they keep their battle passes afterwards. Like, I literally can't think, but there surely has to be at least one out there. There has to surely be at least one, but I can not think of one off the top of my head. So, which is the better of the two? I mean, they're both are pretty harmless, like, and yeah, again, they're both the now these days with a lot of the restrictions, uh, it's mainly cosmetic these days. Not really in-game stuff, and if it is going to be in-game stuff, it has to be for something where it's not against players, like something that has to be, not affecting other players directly. Um, so So since I'm trying to do it worst to best, which is the better of the two? Because it's a hard choice which is the better of the two, because they're both fine systems. I guess on a technicality, the shop system is technically better because a battle pass, once it's gone, it's, gone. It's rare that it will return or it's kept. Like, usually once it's gone, and it'll be years or even, a decade before you see the same items up for grabs again. If the game lives long enough for that eventuality to happen, that is. So, I guess I'll review battle passes first, since they're technically, you know, um, I guess the the greater uh, uh, it's technically worse on a technicality due to the time thing, although shops operate in the same way. But at least with shops, usually it's like it either changes, every few days, or, you know, at least every week, So yeah, like shop systems rotate, a lot more frequently, and it has a lot more likely chance of, old favorite items, returning for, second chances, compared to Battle Pass, where since, Battle Passes last longer, you know, a month or two, to sometimes 3 months, since, battle passes are being rotated a lot more slowly than, the shop, it's less likely a battle pass will repeat than a shop item. So, so, battle passes, the system where usually there's, a sort of like pseudo free one where you'll get, a few free items, but they're usually like the more generic items, and they're spaced a lot further apart, and usually it doesn't go as long as the regular battle pass. Like, the free, battle pass will usually be like 30 tiers, and the items will be a lot more spaced out and be a lot more generic. Um, but and the actual battle pass, the actual paid ones, those are usually like 100 things each. Thing has an item of some sort, where it be like an emblem or armor, like a weapon skin or a charm or a background or whatever the hell it is. You've played video games, you know what's in a battle pass, like, and if you haven't, why are you watching this? Why have you watched, however long it's been? Let me alt tab 20 minutes of me just babbling on about microtransactions, you know. But, yeah, either way, so battle pass, and usually there'll be some sort of like, most things include a way to pay through the battle pass. So there's the initial purchase of the battle pass, but you can also buy through the battle pass, which is just like, why? Like, I can understand, like, if you have like a limited time to do the battle pass, that you may want you know get a little bit further, so you're a little bit closer to whatever item 100 is, because usually item 100 is usually the most interesting or coolest item of it all. Like, it varies from time to time, but usually item 100 is the item. Like like in the early days of Fortnite, before it became every single IP under the sun. Like, I remember back to like the original season 3, and item 100 for that was John Wick, and that was like the coolest thing ever, because back then Fortnite still barely had any IPs attached to it. But now Fortnite's like goddamn Lego and has like a billion IPs. It literally even has Lego now. Like, how much more, meta can you get? Fortnite, has a Lego variant of itself. Both these two things that Fortnite, became the equivalent of Lego for video games, and now it literally has Lego in it. It's like, I'm going insane. How is Fortnite still popular? Why haven't you died already? Why aren't you dead, Fortnite? Like, why don't you just die already? Why don't you just die? Nanomachine, son. Goddamn. Epic Games is never going to do a normal video game again. There's only going to be Fortnite. Forever, it's Fortnite. Fortnite. It's all Fortnite. Someone save me from the nightmare. So many things think, you know, things start from Fortnite. No, you fools, you children. Master Chief didn't come from Fortnite. No one came from Fortnite. No one. No one. You foolish children. Do you not know? Eventually they will probably know. But for now, it's like, and then there'll be more children. There'll just be a new generation fill in that void once, the children of that age, have grown up and realized, oh, damn, we were dumb, we were stupid. No offense to, any of those, kids, just saying, like, you guys were dumb. Like, you guys were dumb. Like, I know I did dumb things as a kid, but I feel like you're taking, the bar and bending it to new extremes. Kids will always, do dumb stuff or, say dumb things, But I feel like with the internet, it should be more than obvious where these things came from originally, but obviously not. Obviously, no matter how much you put on the screen, this came from Halo, this came from Star Wars, this came from Dragon Ball Z, this came from whatever, kids will be dumb and be like, this came from Fortnite, Fortnite, Fortnite dance. It's, I hate Fortnite with a burning passion. Uh, you know, this is why, don't really, haven't really played Fortnite ever since, back when I originally played it, which was, really all into its lifespan. And this is why I try not to own anything Fortnite. Unfortunately, that was unavoidable because I do own one thing. Like, I wasn't the one that purchased it to preference it. It was my grandma, so I can't just, burn it, the item. I can't just, set it ablaze because that would be, mean to my grandma. Like, she was in the ballpark of, video games. Like, you know, she got the concept. Just any other video game book would have been fine. Any other. But it was specifically a Fortnite one. I own a Fortnite book. And I want to burn it. But I will not do it. As long as, my grandma is alive, I will not burn the book. But you can sure as well bet, as soon as I can, that thing is either burnt or in the trash. Otherwise, it's forever gonna sit in limbo. It's sitting on my shelf forever, staring at me. I can see it literally just, it's staring at me forever. Forever just, it's gonna sit there, the Fortnite book. But yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I got seriously sidetracked about talking about how much I hate Fortnite. I'm surprised I haven't done an Apple podcast on Fortnite. Honestly, this one is This one, I think this just counts to Fortnite automatically. I guess now it's microtransactions and Fortnite. So yeah, I I I, I hate Fortnite with a burning passion. It's an okay game. Like it's Hunger Games, the game with guns. You know, but did it really need to live this long? No. Like, 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 if you condensed all the game modes it's ever had, like, you know, into one, even though it'd be unrealistic that they would all release at the same time, but that's all. It sure only lived like a year, like, or something, like, realistically, maybe 2 years. But at this point, it should be dead. Anyway, back to microtransactions, back to battle passes. So, battle passes, I guess, are fine. Just, you pay for them, have a limited time. Even though it's more than, shop, the fact that there's little chance that you'll ever get to see any of the items again is a huge drawback. So, despite the increased time, you can, technically earn items. It also has a huge drawback, like, once those items are gone, they're gone. And plus, another drawback is since, there's so many tiers, unless you're, like, grinding the game, somewhat, like, frequently, at least probably, like, at least once a day for at least, like, a couple of hours, like, you're gonna miss out on, those end items because most likely by, you know, the end of the month or the end of the 2 months, that battle pass is gone. It's going to be replaced with a new one, and you're most likely never going to see that battle pass again, unless it, was a really important one, know, like, like one that could be, used as an anniversary one, or at least parts of it used for an anniversary one. You're probably never going to see the items again. Like, realistically, like, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, Battle Passes is technically slightly worse than shops. And now we finally get to shops. Only took um, 33 minutes. uh, but we're finally here at, shops. The least egregious, as long as there's, no pay to win, no loot boxes, and, as long as it's reasonable prices. I'm looking at you, early Halo Infinite, storing your absurd ass prices. I'm also looking at you, Fallout, and your absurd ass prices for like Fallout 76. Like, Jesus Christ, kill me. Um, um, haven't talked about, Fallout 76, in a hot minute. But, yeah, Fallout 76 sucks. I'm not going to rant as much on as Fortnite because I guess there's less to rant about. Like, Fallout 76 was quickly in and out the gate. Like, it lived and died quite quickly, and no amount of, DLCs and whatever could salvage or save it, for, most Fallout fans, I'm sure, some people are probably still enjoying the game, but it's a long gone distant memory for me, so I don't really have anything to say. I enjoyed my time that I had on it because it was basically like any other Fallout game. Like, it was, yeah, again, I guess, a Fallout game, and I always enjoy Fallout games, so, you know, I still played quite a few hours on it. I think like almost 100 hours. Surprisingly, like I don't know how I racked up so many hours so quickly on Fallout 76, but you know, it just happens when you know, back then, I had plenty of free time. I guess to an extent I still have plenty of free time now. It has reduced, with, uni and my volunteer job and yeah, but still, relatively, I still have a decent, good amount of, free time. Like, I guess a lot of free time, I suppose, but either way, um, yeah, Fallout 76 lived and died. But yeah, shops are, the most reasonable, and as long as it's cosmetics only, and as long as it's a reasonable price, you know, if it's going to help, the game developers, it's probably fine, It's cool beans, It's not a bad, microtransaction, you know. Shops aren't that bad, you know. So yeah, yeah. I guess I might as well mention these two as well, just to tack them onto the end, but it's debated on if these two would count as microtransactions or not, because usually it's all the other stuff that gets talked about and not really these two. But here's the best two. The best two, I guess, technically for last. First is soundtracks. Purchasable soundtracks will definitely always be most of the time better than any shop system. Like, sure, cosmetics are nice and all, but you know, what happens when you're no longer playing that game, or you know, you know, once the game's dead and offline, you can't really use those cosmetics anymore. If the game's dead, like you know, even if it was cheap to buy, you still spent your money on something that was only brief. Where you know, music soundtracks are often lot, I guess, longer lasting, I guess, technically. Um, but it also depends on like formats, like if it's actually in the game or it's run by a, third party. Like, yeah, again, there's, a few things that can, makes it technically, not the best. Yeah, I'm saving a specific one for last because usually it's technically the more fun one, unless it's a bad one of it. So I'll reveal in a second what it is. You better worry about it. um, but yeah, and technically you can just most of the time, listen to soundtracks for free. You don't really need to buy them. Most of the time you can find, music quite freely on YouTube. So, yeah. Like, but it's a nice way to help, support the developers, and yeah. But the final one, and technically best microtransaction of all, is DLC. You know, there can always be, bad DLC, you know, no DLC are, good ones, but most of the time, DLCs add something unique and interesting to the pre existing game. Depending on the game, it can either be, you know, something more basic where it like only adds like a new area, some new weapons, some new enemies, but it's still essentially, and some new story, but it's still, essentially the same game. Sort of like Fallout, you know, you know, DLCs, at least in more recent games. Uh, but there's some that, add new mechanics or a new thing you can do, like, you know, you know, actually add some, interesting stakes, I guess, to it. Similar to, more like Fallout, New Vegas's DLCs, where it's like All World Blues and uh, the one where you rob that uh, place, wherever, where like there's multiple choices and you know sort of ends up affecting your ending, sort of. And the other one, like you can get different endings within it. The Fallout New Vegas, DLCs are really good. I'm just saying, Fallout New Vegas, best Fallout game. I'm just saying, and the best DLC. Um, yeah, but yeah, there's some that really like. So, but most of the time it's just one mechanic. But sometimes it really tries to do something different. Examples that can come to mind are, the DLCs for Resident Evil 7, particularly um, the banned footage DLCs, because, like, um, let's talk about the bonus modes first, since, one of the bonus modes was basically like ultra hardcore. Like, if you really wanted an ultimate challenge, like, it was hard. Like, like, I would probably have to watch a guide to get through it. And the other like bonus mode was Jack's birthday, which was like a fun little mini game where you like collected food for Jack and tried to feed you know his hunger bar, and you fought zombies, and it was like so a pie aesthetic. Like it was a fun way of subverting Resident Evil, because Resident Evil is a scary game. For it to suddenly be suddenly turned into a cheerful party is like really funny, and like it's an interesting DLC. If you ever buy Resident Evil, you know, uh, 7, I would definitely recommend buying like you know either one or even both of the band footage one. It's, because I think it's band footage 2 that has 21 and uh, the one that is a story one that acts like a prologue to the game. Um, and Jack's birthday, so all the best three are in the same pack. But I'll get to 21 last since that's the most interesting one. Um, but the other two, one of them is basically kind of FNAF, but if it was Resident Evil, because you have to survive until like 6 a.m. in the morning, like, so you gotta survive from midnight to 6 a.m. So it's basically FNAF, like, but Resident Evil, and obviously you're not, since, Resident Evil is different, you're not trapped in one spot. You can actually move around, and there's like different defenses you can use to help, you know, fight against the horde. There's also like areas you can unlock to try and get new machines that get scrap, which is your main currency for it. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. Like, as a hybrid between like FNAF, Resident Evil, and I guess a little bit of tower defense because of some of the traps, like some are literal mini guns, like sort of things that automatically shoot the enemies, but eventually it will break. So you have to repair it, and you can only repair it a certain amount of times, and it gets more expensive each time. But also, I think gets a little bit more powerful each time. So it's like a trade off of like, do you want to, use it despite it'll get more costly, but you also gain the benefit of also having access to the higher level variant of it that does slightly more damage and stuff. Like, it's all like a trade off. So, yeah. Um, yeah. The other one is like a escape room one, which is quite interesting. And it really, I guess, works well for Resident Evil since, the selling points of, Resident Evil is, the puzzles, although they're not that, complicated um, most of the time. Uh, but actually having like a escape room esque, you know, thing in Resident Evil actually works, and you actually have to pay attention to detail and, um, you know, make certain things go back in the correct places. Otherwise, um, you know, you know, Margaret will notice and, you know, then worm you is the best way to describe it. Like literally worms come out of her mouth and yeah. But yeah. But the other two one's called like Sisters or something. That's the one where it's like a prologue, like giving us a before the baker's turned, although that quickly goes away. And that sense of safety you have in like the first 5 to 10 minutes, quickly erodes away. like, and then it becomes, a fight for your life as Zoe. Um, yeah. And lastly, but not least, because gotta save the best for last, 21, probably the best DLC. Like, it really, you know, makes, Resident Evil into a whole different game. It's literally the game 21, but there's like these extra cards that do like special abilities and um yeah, like the stakes, keep getting raised. Like at first it's just, your fingers that have been, chopped off. Then it's like a electric machine, and then finally it's like a deadly blade saw. And Lucas is actually trying to rig the game against you, but there's a way to beat him. Just that you have to have like certain specific cards. You either need a certain specific card that he gives to you at one point, or you need a certain set of cards, like to beat uh, Lucas, like like you need a certain set. So yeah, it's a definitely deceptive game of 21. Yeah, again, you want to get as close to 21, but if you go over 21, you bust, and that, you know, costs you either a finger, a charge, or the sword blade getting closer depending on what stage you're at. So yeah, it's very similar to buckshot roulettes, like, oddly enough. Like, if you enjoy that game, you probably will enjoy the DLC of Resident Evil, you know, the 21, uh, DLC, because it's basically, you know, buckshot roulette, but instead, you know, bang on if a shell will, hit you or not, or hit the dealer or not. You're bang on, you know, if your cards will get as close to 21 without going over 21. And, there's a lot of special cards, just like the special items in buckshot roulette, that, spice up the game. And, you know, the stakes can get very interesting, especially in the third, segment where Lucas literally tries to rig the game. But if you're smart and save the right cards for the end, not that you'll know on the first try, usually it takes one or two or even three tries before you like realize, oh, I need this card for beating, Lucas. And then you'll do everything in your power to make certain that you keep that card. Like, and it's very, like, it almost, like, in a way makes it obvious which card you need to keep. Like yeah, again, I don't want to spoil it just in case, so, uh, you know, you know, skip uh, like 10, 20 seconds, the, like a minute of video, but here's the spoilers now, that the card, it makes certain your enemy has a perfect hand. Now, at first, that's an awful, bonus card. Why in the world would I use that? But there's a specific reason you have it, and it's for that last, you know, phase in phase 3. Like, it's very, obvious, and most people won't use it immediately. Some do because there's always the chance that players will notice that, Lucas um, has, a 21 and will then use that card, which would technically push them to 22 and bust them because they can't have a perfect hand if they already have the perfect hand. That's a mistake I've made before when doing the game, but yeah, yeah. Spoilers over. So hopefully you skip to here. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's a very good DLC. No, it's technically short, like it's a short DLC, like relatively speaking, like it's like 30 minutes. It's the same length as Buckshot Roulette, you know, but it's only like one part of, the DLC. Like it's only one, element of the DLC. So in that regard, plus the other two things, which I'm pretty certain 21's a part of the band footage too, which includes, Jack's birthday, the very funny, uh, unique game mode, technically, surveying Resident Evil on its head, and the other one, Sisters, being, prologue and actually having story stuff. I think, like, in my opinion, band footage 2 is worth it. Like, it gives you a direct opposite to Resident Evil, which, can be quite fun even if you only play it for, you know, one, you know, set, which, like, you know, are like 10 minutes a pop, it's still, pretty worth it. And, like, if you struggle with, the Sisters one, you can always, just find an online guide and properly complete it. I know I haven't, so I don't know how long it is, so I only can estimate that probably be decently long. Probably not too long, but you know, seeing that it's like, a prologue one and an actual story one, I feel like it'd be like probably half an hour to an hour to complete. Probably somewhere in that ballpark. Probably like 45 minutes. So, overall, the DLC has like, let's just simplify a bit, an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 25 minutes. So, of content, I mean, not technically the most for a DLC, but it's worth it if you want more of, Resident Evil's story and, something that literally opposes, Resident Evil. Plus, probably the best, you know, DLC of Resident Evil just because it's so out there and unique. Um, which is why it's my personal favorite for Resident Evil DLC, so far. I don't even think Separate Ways, like when I eventually play that, will beat it because, you know, for me, something unique will always stand out more than something that already fits in the mold of the game. Like, Separate Ways is going to be basically Resident Evil 4.2. Like, it's literally just going to be Resident Evil 4, chapter. How many chapters are in the game again? Like 13 or something? It's basically going to be Resident Evil 4 chapter 14, or whatever, chapter. But my point is that, Separate Ways is basically the same game, where, same gameplay elements, where 21 completely, makes a whole new thing in the context of Resident Evil. And that makes it really interesting. And I think it's definitely the true precursor to, you know, Buckshot Roulette. And isn't the description also work in a similar way? Doesn't it have like cards with abilities and whatever? Like, and Resident Evil 7 was like, I've gotten like completely sidetracked talking about, specific DLCs instead of, DLC in general, you know, um, um, but yeah, let me at least, 2017, which then for banned footage probably being when was it released? #21, potentially. Yeah, I think in February because it released in January, so yeah. Well, like, When did in script like it released a lot later, didn't it? Uh, yeah, 2021. Damn, that was out in 2021. Feels like that was in like um last year, 2022. Damn. Yeah, it is the cards one. But yeah, I feel like 21, you know, would be kind of the precursor to those. Not that I know much about inscription, just it seems like it'd be along the same lines. I mean, both have cards, you know, yeah, like, so slowly it went from, you know, you know, Lucas to whoever the guy in the inscription is, to, you know, Buckshot Roulette where it's ended up. But, yeah, I like 21, the DLC. Um, yeah, anyway, um, DLC's most of the time good. And the best, I guess, microtransaction. But this will definitely end our podcast. I've spent way too long, you know, on things, especially like Fortnite, because I don't like Fortnite. Yeah, and it's an alright game on its own. Still, I don't like everything else, as I guess happened because of it. But then again, there'll always be, you know, annoying kids. I know that fully from a VR chat. If you've played VR chat in any map that has one green icon saying quest, you know, you know, you know the pain. Anyway, I'm gonna end this our podcast. So yeah, peace, thank you, and goodbye.